Good morning, boys and girls, or children, or what should I call you? Young adults. I don't know for sure who's watching, and even maybe some adults may be. So I just want to say it is just a few days until Christmas, and I'm sure you're all getting very excited. I got my Christmas done at home as far as everything looking so nice. I've got my baby Jesus and my nativity, and I hope that you've been using the Advent calendar that was sent out by Sunday School, because that would be a cool thing for you to kind of keep track of what's happening in the Christmas season. I've got mine hanging, which I have an adult one that they sent me that I've got hanging right in my dining room, so I open it up every morning. And it's just kind of a gentle reminder that in all the hubbub and the confusion of Christmas, this is the birth of Christ the Lord. And I think that it's really important we remember that. I get to read you probably my most favorite Christmas story. Well, not my most favorite, but one of my favorite Christmas stories. And it's called The Littlest Angel. And I'm sure that you've probably heard it before, and if you haven't, it's going to be a treat. And if you have, it's just a nice gentle reminder of the smallest gifts in the world can be the most important. I just want to show you this beautiful illustration because it shows the littlest angel. When we think of angels that live in God's heaven, we think of adult angels, we think of big angels, the archangel, the angel Gabriel. And the littlest angel is a story about a small child who is living among all these adults in this very adult angel world. Once upon a time, many, many years ago, as time is calculated by men, but which was only yesterday in the celestial calendar of heaven, there was in paradise a most miserable, thoroughly unhappy, and utterly dejected cherub, and that's another word for angel, who was known throughout heaven as the littlest angel. He was exactly 4 years, 6 months, 5 days, 7 hours, and 42 minutes of age when he presented himself to the venerable gatekeeper and waited for admittance to the glorious kingdom of God. Look at how tiny he looks down there. We have absolutely no idea what heaven is like, but we know it's going to be huge and magnificent, and when the littlest angel walked up there, I'm sure he just was overwhelmed. Standing defiantly, the littlest angel tried to pretend that he wasn't at all impressed by such unearthly splendor, and that he wasn't at all afraid. But his lower lip trembled, and a tear disgraced him by making a new furrow down his already tear-streaked face, coming to a precipitous halt at the very tip of his small, freckled nose. But that wasn't all. While the kindly gatekeeper was entering his name in the great book, the littlest angel, having left home as usual without a handkerchief, endeavored to hide the telltale evidence by snuffing, like that. A most unangelic sound which so unnerved the good gatekeeper that he did something he had never done before in all of eternity. He blotted the page. Look at the gatekeeper. He looked like a kind person you'd like to meet when you went into heaven. From that moment on, the heavenly peace was never quite the same, and the little angel soon became the despair of all the heavenly host. His shrill, ear-splitting whistle resounded at all hours throughout the golden streets. It startled the patriarch prophets and disturbed their meditations. And yes, and on top of that, he inevitably sang off-key at the singing practice of the heavenly choir, spoiling its angelic effect. And being so small that it seemed to take him just twice as long as anybody else to get to nightly prayers, the littlest angel always arrived late, and always knocked everyone's wings askew as he darted into his place. Although these falls in behavior might have been overlooked, the general appearance of the littlest angel was even more disreputable than his deportment. He was first whispered among the seraphim and cherubim, and then said aloud among the angels and archangels that he didn't even look like an angel. What do you think? Probably didn't look much like an angel to them. and they were all quite correct. He didn't. His halo was permanently tarnished, where he held on to it with one hot little chubby hand while he ran, and he was always running. Furthermore, even when he stood very still, it never behaved as a halo should. It was always slipping down over his right eye, or over his left eye, or else, just for pure meanness, slipping off the back of his head and rolling away down some golden street just so he'd have to chase after it. He's a mess, isn't he? Yes, and it must be here recorded that his wings were neither useful nor ornamental. All paradise held its breath when the littlest angel perched himself like an unhappy sparrow on the very edge of a cloud and prepared to take off. He would teeter this way and that way, and after much coaxing and a few false starts, he would shut both of his eyes, hold his freckled nose, count up to 303, and hurl himself slowly into space. However, owing to the regrettable fact that he almost always forgot to move his wings, the little angel always fell head over halo. You need wings to fly, don't you? He just thought he could just land on the clouds and stay there. It was also reported, and never denied, that whenever he was nervous, which was most of the time, he bit his angel wings. Can you believe that? Now, anyone easily understood why the littlest angel would sooner or later have to be disciplined. And so, on an eternal day of an eternal month in the year eternal, he was directed to present his small self before an angel of the peace. The littlest angel combed his hair, dusted his wings, and scrambled into an almost clean garment, and then with a heavy heart trudged his way to a place of judgment. He tried to postpone the dreaded ordeal by loitering along the street of the guardian angels, pausing a few timeless moments to minutely inspect the long list of arrivals, although heaven knew that he couldn't read a word. And he idled more than several moments to carefully examine a display of harps, although everyone in the city knew that he couldn't play a note. But at length and at last he slowly approached a doorway, which was surmounted by a pair of golden scales, signifying that heavenly justice was dispensed within. To the littlest angel's great surprise, he heard a merry voice singing. We've all got pictures in our mind of what we think heaven is, but I think this book shows them so nice. The littlest angel removed his halo and breathed upon it heavily and then polished it upon his robe, a procedure which added nothing to his already untidy appearance, and then tiptoed in. The singer, who was known as the understanding angel, looked down at the small culprit, and the little angel instantly tried to make himself invisible by a process of withdrawing his head into his robe, very much like a snapping turtle. At that, the singer laughed, a jolly, heartwarming sound, and said, "Oh, so you're the one who's been making heaven so unheavenly. Come here, little angel, and tell me all about it." The little angel ventured a furtive look, first one eye and then the other eye. He does look like a very nice man, doesn't our angel, doesn't he? To call him what we have him in the book here. Suddenly, almost before he knew it, he was standing close to the understanding angel and was explaining how very difficult it was for a boy who suddenly finds himself transformed into an angel. Yes and no matter what the archangel said, he'd only swung once, well, twice. All right, he'd swung 3 times on the golden gates, but that was just for something to do. That was the whole trouble. There wasn't anything for a small angel to do. And he was very homesick. Oh, not that paradise wasn't beautiful, but the earth was beautiful too. There were trees to climb and brooks to fish and caves to play at pirate chief, the swimming hole and sun and rain and dark and dawn, and thick brown dust so soft and warm under your feet. He's talking to the understanding angel there. He looks like a very nice man. The understanding angel smiled, and in his eyes was a long-forgotten memory of another small boy from long ago. Then he asked the littlest angel what would make him most happy in paradise. The cherub thought for a moment and whispered in his ear, "There's a box. I left it under my bed back home. If only I could have it." The understanding angel nodded his head. "You shall have it," he promised, and a fleet-winged heavenly messenger was instantly dispatched to bring the box to paradise. And then, in all those timeless days that followed, everyone wondered at the great change in the littlest angel, for among all the cherubs in God's kingdom, he was the most happy. His conduct was above the slightest reproach. His appearance was that the most fastidious anyone could possibly wish for. And excursions to the fields, it could be said and truly said, he flew like an angel. Oh, it changed his mind. Look at, he's just getting along so much better now than he was getting along before. And it came to pass that Jesus, the Son of God, was to be born to Mary in Bethlehem in Judea. And as the glorious tidings spread throughout paradise, all the angels rejoiced, and their voices were lifted to herald the miracle of miracles, the coming of Christ child. The angels and archangels, the seraphim and cherubim, the gatekeeper, the wingmaker, and yes, even Hallowsmith put aside their usual task to prepare their gifts for the blessed infant. All but the littlest angel. He sat down on the topmost step of the golden stairs and waited for inspiration. What could he give that would be acceptable to the Son of God? At one time he dreamed of composing a lyric hymn of adoration, but the littlest angel was woefully wanting in the musical talent. Then he grew tremendously excited over writing a prayer that would live forever in the hearts of men, because it would be the first prayer ever to be heard by the Christ child. But the littlest angel was lacking in skill to write like that. What could a small angel give that would please the holy infant? See, all the angels are working on their special gifts for God or for Jesus when he's born on Christmas Day. And the littlest angel doesn't have a clue what he wants to do. The time of the miracle was very close at hand, when the littlest angel at last decided on his gift. Then on that day of days, he proudly brought it from its hiding place behind a cloud, and humbly, with downcast eyes, placed it before the throne of God. It was only a small, rough, unsightly box, but inside were all those wonderful things that even a child of God would treasure. A small, rough, unsightly box lying among all those glorious gifts from all the angels of paradise. Gifts of such rare and radiant splendor and breathless beauty that heaven and all the universe were lighted by the mere reflection of the glory of those gifts. And when the littlest angel saw this, he suddenly knew that his gift to God's child was irreverent, and he devoutly wished he could reclaim his shabby gift. It was ugly. It was worthless. If only he could hide it away from the sight of God before he even noticed. But it was too late. The hand of God moved slowly over all the bright array of shining gifts, then paused, then dropped, and then came to rest on the lowly gift of the littlest angel. The littlest angel trembled as the box was opened, and before the eyes of God and all the heavenly host was what he offered to the Christ child. And what was his gift to this wonderful, blessed infant? Well, there was a butterfly with golden wings, captured one bright summer day on the hills above Jerusalem, and a sky blue egg from a bird's nest in the olive tree that stood to shade his mother's kitchen door. Yes, and 2 white stones found on a muddy river bank, where he and his friends had played like small brown beavers. And at the bottom of the box, a limp, tooth-marked leather strap, once worn as a collar by his dog, who had died as he lived in absolute love and devotion. The littlest angel wept hot, bitter tears, For now he knew that instead of honoring the Son of God, he had been most blasphemous. Why had he ever thought the box was so wonderful? Why had he dreamed that such utterly useless things could be loved by the blessed infant? In a frantic terror, he turned to run and hide from the divine wrath of God, but he stumbled and fell, and with a horrified wail and a clatter of halos, rolled in a ball of misery to the very foot of the heavenly throne. There was an ominous and dreadful silence in the city, a silence complete and undisturbed, save for the heartbroken sobbing of the littlest angel. Then suddenly the voice of God, like divine music, rose and swelled throughout paradise. And the voice of God spoke, saying, "Of all the gifts of all the angels, I find that this small box pleases me most. Its contents are of the earth and of men, and my Son is born to be king of both. These are the things my Son too will know and love and cherish, and then regretfully will leave behind him when his task is done. I accept this gift in the name of the child Jesus, born of Mary, this night in Bethlehem." There was a breathless pause, and then the rough, unsightly box of the littlest angel began to glow with a bright, unearthly light. Then the light became a lustrous flame, and the flame became a radiant brilliance that blinded the eyes of all the angels. None but the littlest angel saw it rise from its place before the throne of God, and he, and only he, watched it arch away from heaven and shed its clear, white, beaconing light over a stable where a child was born. There it shone on that night of miracles, and its light was reflected down the centuries, deep in the heart of all mankind. Yet earthly eyes, blinded too by its splendor, could never know that the lowly gift of the littlest angel was what all men would call forever the shining star of Bethlehem. Besides being a wonderful gift to give to baby Jesus, I think that we always think that I'm little and I don't have any money or I can't do things. Some of the smallest things that we do, a smile, a thank you, a gee, can I take care of that for you, or let me carry that basket for you. Those are all gifts that as a person we can give to someone else, and it doesn't cost anything but our time and our heart. And if your heart is right, that gift will be accepted in the way that you wanted to give it. We have a chance in the next few days, I don't know how many of you might be able to, but there's 2 planets that are coming together for the first time, and they're supposed to be providing a beautiful, beautiful light in our night sky, probably right around 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. And if you have a chance and have a wide open space, around the 21st of December, which is a few days before Christmas, that will be Monday, and I think it's like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday it can happen. Have an adult go out with you and look outside and see if you can see those 2 planets come together. It's Jupiter and Pluto? No, Jupiter and Mars? No. I'm not sure which planets they are, but I know they've converged. It hasn't happened since the year 1920, which is about 100 years ago, or 35 or something like that. So ask your mom and dad about it or your adult about it and just see if there is any chance you could go out and try and see it. And that is the Christmas star. Well, we'll be in the sky in the birth of Jesus. So I'll be back with you next week, and next week we're going to read the story of the birth of Jesus from the Bible, because I think that's such an important thing to remember. And you have a good week getting ready for Christmas, and keep your mask on. Bye-bye.